Now when we roll this up, we're not going to see this thin paper edge. We've got a much thicker surface here because it's actually the thickness of the tissue times 4 at that point. So again, once and then twice. Now, I have a good friend and fellow modeler, and many of you may know him. You may watch his videos. He's a very talented guy. John Hayward, the scale model medic. He makes his bedrolls and tarps out of putty. I can't remember if it's Milliput or Epoxy Sculpt or Aves. But there are a lot of guys who have a lot of success making the tarps and various bedrolls out of putty. And that's another route. You know, watch his vid and see if it's something you can do. If not, you know, give this a try. Even if you have to go to the store, the party supply store or something, and buy some tissue to try it out. If not, you know, dig through some old gift boxes in the attic, or wait until your birthday and see if you get some, just to try it out. If you fail, no wasted money, just time. Now, I'm going to fold these corners in like this, on 45, and I'm going to cut that off. Just because, as you can see, when it's folded, you've got an unnatural overhang here, and I want to get rid of that. Just because you probably wouldn't see it on the real item. Alright, now, instead of starting at one end and folding, I come from each end equally to build up the thickness of each end. If you just come from one end, that last fold is going to have a thin edge, which I've said numerous times we want to avoid. So you want to come in from both sides. Now if you look, you can see that in scale, that's probably the thickness of a piece of cloth or canvas, and not the same as if you simply took this and rolled it up and you had the paper thin edges. So once we've got this roughed in, and it's still dry at this point, I've got a little bit of bleed through here from the glue and water mixture. You want to avoid as much of that as possible, because if you mess with that too much, it's going to start to tear. What I do at this point, just like the soldiers would have done if this was a real piece of stowage, I just roll it up. Okay? Because it's dry, I can bend it around so it's not so tight. And that's probably the size the bedroll would be. So now I'm going to cut it past where I've ended, so I can again fold that back over on itself to make it thick. Because the last thing you want is to go through all the work we just went through and then have a paper thin edge here. Now you can shape it round like that on your finger, and then reopen up the ends that you've just squished down by poking at them. Okay, and let's shape it to the fender a little better. You know? You can even take your thumbnail or a toothpick or a paintbrush handle, put in some creases for it to bend on. You know? Mess with the fold a little bit. Because at this stage, you still have a lot of leeway in shaping it because it's dry. Once you soak this in the glue, it's going to become sticky and fragile and tear very easily. So you want to do all your shaping and stuff while it's dry, as much of it as you can. You can simply hold it in place, whoa, and then drop it into the stuff. Luckily, I was pretty much where I wanted to be. So, I'm going to have to jump right to that because of what I just did. Once you're happy with the basic shape, you're going to place it on the vehicle wherever you're stowing it, and you're going to start soaking in the glue and water mixture. Alright? And you can use a tool to really push it in to the corners of wherever you're putting it and really shape it. Alright. Now don't worry about the glue on the plastic, because that's why I'm doing this unpainted. It comes off fairly easy with a little bit of water. And as that starts to harden, you can remove it and then clean it off, and I'll show you that. Now, like I said, at this point, this is going to be pretty sticky with the glue and the water. So your fingers and too much manipulation with anything other than a wet paintbrush, you're going to take a chance at it sticking to your finger and pulling off hairs, and then eventually it'll cause a hole and it'll just look like crap. It's happened to me a million times. It's going to happen to you, most likely. Don't worry about it. It's, you know, it's part of the learning process. The best way to learn how to do something is, see how I did that? Is by making a mistake. The good thing is, many times, unless you've really messed it up, you can paint this over where you've torn it, and it'll actually hide.